When you hear the word shark,
You probably imagine sharp teeth, cold eyes, and a creature that exists only to kill. Movies taught us that. Headlines reinforced it, and fear did the rest. But today, I want you to forget everything you think you know about sharks. Because what if I told you being born as a shark actually sucks? Not in a dramatic, cinematic way, but born alone, brutal, unfair way that almost nobody talks about. And it all starts the moment they're born. Thus, most animals get something when they're born. Protection, parents, warmth, guidance. Sharks get none of that. A baby shark enters the world completely alone. No mother waiting, no father nearby, no one teaching it how to hunt or where to hide. The second it's born, the message is simple: swim or die. There's no childhood, no learning phase, no grace period. Imagine being dropped into the middle of the ocean with no instructions, no help, and everything around you wants to eat you. That's not strength. That's survival by force. Survival is not a choice. Here's something most people don't realize. Many sharks can't stop swimming. If they stop, water stops flowing through their gills. And if that happens, they suffocate. So sleep, rest, taking a break, not an option. From the moment they're born, sharks are forced to move, day and night. Not because they want to, but because their body demands it, while other animals rest to recover. Sharks survive by never stopping. That's not freedom. That's a lifetime of pressure. Hunted from day one. People think sharks are the hunters. But baby sharks, they are hunted by larger fish, by other sharks, by creatures you've never even heard of. And yes, sometimes by their own species. There's no emotional betrayal here, no evil intent, just hunger. Because the ocean doesn't care if you're young. It doesn't care if you're scared. And it definitely doesn't care if you're innocent. Weakness doesn't get sympathy underwater. It gets erased. Misunderstood by humans. And just when you think it can't get worse, humans enter the picture. Sharks don't know what a villain is. They don't understand movies. They don't read headlines. Yet somehow, they became the most feared animal on Earth. Despite the fact that sharks kill far fewer humans than dogs, cows, or even vending machines. But we don't make horror movies about vending machines. We hunt sharks for their fins. We trap them in nets. We kill millions of them every year. Not because they're dangerous, but because they're misunderstood. A shark doesn't attack out of hatred. It doesn't kill for fun. It survives. That's it.
no emotional reward.
Here's the saddest part. Sharks don't get praise. They don't get affection. They don't get redemption arcs. When a lion hunts, we call it nature. When a wolf hunts, we call it balance. When a shark does the same thing, we call it a monster. Sharks don't get to explain themselves. They don't get a second chance. They don't get forgiveness. They just exist and are hated for it. Why they still matter. And yet, despite all of this, sharks are essential. They keep oceans healthy. They control populations. They maintain balance. Without sharks, entire ecosystems collapse. So imagine that. A creature born alone, forced to move forever, hunted from the start, hated by humans, and still holding the ocean together. That's not a villain story. That's a survival story, misunderstood by design. Sharks don't attack out of malice. They don't hate humans. They don't recognize us as enemies. Most attacks, mistakes, curiosity, confusion, a silhouette, a reflection, a moment of misjudgment. And for that moment, the entire species is condemned. One headline erases millions of years of balance. Fear made profitable. Fear sells. Movies, news, stories. A shark doesn't need to kill anyone to become the villain. It just needs to exist. And humans learn something terrifying. If you convince people to fear something, they'll justify destroying it. Even if it's innocent. Even if it's necessary. Even if the ocean can't survive without it. The ocean without sharks. Here's what happens when sharks disappear. Prey populations explode. Coral reefs die. Seagrass vanishes. Entire food chains collapse. The ocean doesn't scream. It just slowly breaks. And by the time we notice, it's already too late. The final irony. Sharks have survived mass extinctions, ice ages, meteor impacts, but they might not survive us. Not because they're weak, not because they're flawed, but because we misunderstood them and never bothered to correct it. There's one more thing we don't talk about. Sharks don't just die from age. They don't just lose to stronger predators. They're punished for being sharks. Every year, millions are caught. Not for survival, not for balance, but for soup, for trophies, for fear. Their fins are sliced off. Their bodies are thrown back into the ocean, alive, unable to swim, slowly sinking. No scream, no struggle anyone hears, just silence. A creature that must keep moving, left to drown. And here's the cruel part. Even after all that, people still say sharks are the problem. If this video changed the way you see sharks, leave a like. If you learned something new, subscribe. And remember, nature isn't cruel. It's just honest.